Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM22. This is Dragons, episode number 10. We're into the new season, ready to begin season number 4. Let's just quickly break down a shorter version than what we've had the last few seasons of our setup for the year. First off, the one experiment that I was running last year, of course, those not new to the game are well aware that this whole brand new scouting system and youth system, it just started this year. It's a brand new system this year. Now, my career mode, I played around with it a bit the first couple of seasons and quickly found that it was a system that did not benefit us directly. And I pivoted and went in a different direction and found that I really didn't need to spend very much time in scouting, because in 7 seasons, give or take, not once had I found a player good enough to sign immediately. Not once. And, the players that end up in the U23s, you can take one day to position yourself for scouting for the year. And while you can do more with it, you don't necessarily have to do more with it. You can really just sit back and let it do its thing and not have it be a focal point, not have to waste your time with it, and focus on other tasks. Now, I love the potential of the new system. Year 1, they got parts of it right, but that part in particular, the sitting back and it not meaning anything, that's a huge miss for me. But because of that, I don't have full knowledge of the system as of yet and what ultimately is going to work best. So we have a new international level scout that we brought in last year. It automatically, as we were already past January 1st when we signed him, or on January 1st when we signed him, it automatically put him into a contract for last year and for this year. So he was already renewed for the upcoming year. Now, of course, we could just cancel that immediately. I think that's a weird system, that there's no punishment for firing somebody on the spot. But anyway, we've got him in the same position that we have our other new scout as we, started to go regional. But again, there was only 3 Asian scouts, period, and all 3 have regional reputation. In fact, 2 of them are from India. In fact, all 3 of them are from the same region. I believe we had one from Kazakhstan. Is that here, or is it just above it? Anyway, and 2 from India. So all 3 come from the same region, have the same reputation, serve the same purpose, aren't terribly useful. Now, the international one, while he might cost more, here's the difference. They both had level 1s with the beginning of everything. Now, our Central South guy, he was level 2. That's his home region. He was already level 2 in Central South. So why is he not getting a level 3 boost? Is it because he's regional? I mean, is he really capped at just a 2? Is that it? Is that all he's going to get? Because the previous ones didn't develop, didn't go beyond just 2s. He should at least have a 3-2. But from level 1, we now have level 4s. He's already seen as an expert in this region. And I do believe it caps at a 5 on the scout input. So legendary scouts, I believe, can get up to a 5. But let's see what difference we get, as we now have 3 scouting regions within Asia that are much higher. Now, China, we also have added bonuses. China, we have 2 bonus points for the number of riders from the region. We also have 2 bonus points from 2 of our top riders within the roster. And we also have a big bonus to the knowledge of the territory, because it is where our team headquarters is located, of course, within China. So we have a 9, 6, and 6 with the scout influences to those 3 regions, where the other 2 regions are sitting still at 3 and 3, which is really surprising that we aren't getting. I mean, it says we get a bonus point. That's +1. But we only have 1 rider from the region. And just 1 here, or at least 1 that is good enough to be recognized and provide us some sort of bonus. So let's hope that in time we're going to add some more bonuses to the other regions and get better and better with scouting and hopefully find something useful. Our U23 team I drafted after the end of the last episode, so a quick update on where they are. And you can see we have one 3-star guy out of India with 4-star potential, but he's just, flat time trial. Not terribly useful and not terribly high potential. We have a number of other guys with 4-star potential, half of them with 3-star potential. There's not much from this first set that we have here, and let's hope that in time we can, find more useful pieces. As we start the season, no change to where the rankings were. We have our 2 4.5-star guys. We have our 4 4-star guys. And at the very bottom end, we are now no worse than 2.5, with just 3 riders coming in, all at age 20, that are 2.5 stars. Novardianto, I believe, is on an expiring contract this year, so he'll be gone very soon. Tran is also 30 years of age, so he's going to be heading out soon. We did pick up a couple of those older guys who could help us here and now get a little bit stronger, and that here and now part has now expired, and we're ready to be done with those guys at the end of this season. Mispa 27, Yamamoto's 28, Oscar is 26, Zhu is 26, so Liu is 26, Chen is 26. It's very unusual for me to have this many older riders within a roster. I tend to go really, really young and find those hot prospects, bring them in, let them develop, and I rarely even sign them to a second contract. Most of those guys do their 3 years and we move on to somebody else. Well, that's not true. I think I re-signed about half of them to a second contract, but they definitely don't stay beyond 6 years. And because I signed them at 19 to 21, they're gone by the time they're 27. But again, some of these guys are in that last year of their contracts. We'll see how they go. We definitely want to be hanging on to the likes of Oscar, Yamamoto, and probably any of these top 6 guys really for years to come, as there aren't going to be a lot of replacement level guys for us. On the mountain side of things, we have 5 riders that are now capable. Of course, Yamamoto is the best of them. On the punchy side, we are a bit deeper, but not high end. I mean, it's 4 guys on that better side of things, and then it starts to drop off rapidly, but there's a lot. 67 plus gets you all the way down to Shu, so that's at least something. In terms of time trialing, still major weakness. Abdul is somebody we brought in directly as a time trialist that doesn't have necessarily other strengths, though 70 for cobble, so he's kind of a hybrid of a classics guy. But again, still a pretty big weakness. We're a little bit better in prologue, but not much. In terms of classics, we got 2 guys that are just at a 70, and then it just completely plummets from there. Eventually, we'll have capability in this department, but we are definitely not a classics team at this stage. But sprint team, we very much are, or going to be. Oscar now has a 79 sprint, but when you add in a 73 acceleration, a 63 stamina, and a 70 flat, he still doesn't grab very many results. He has a good top speed, but he just can't sustain it, and he can't, get in fresh, and he can't. He can sprint for a few hundred meters, and that's it. So, and he's slow to get up to speed. Bad combination, really bad combination. Not a good sprinter. But I mean, I'd like to have him as a lead out guy because he can put in a good turn of pace for a short period of time, setting somebody else up. But he himself, just not a very good sprinter. Kayama, decent lead out. She was looking pretty good. I did sign 2 guys this year, of course, that are going to be big time prospects for us, and hoping that they will develop quite rapidly. One of those, of course, was Schechter. For now, though, he's only a 72-71, but with a 72 flat rating, we're going to try to get him involved early on when it comes to sprints, get him some experience, and hopefully by the end of the year he'll be up in this territory. But with not one rider on the team having a stamina above 72, or recovery or resistance, we're still a team very limited at this stage. But this year we are now looking at 6 HC level races. A perfect season would have a bump of another 14K, so we're looking at a baseline for our July 31st sponsor signing day of 113K. Really hope we do get those offers coming in, because our maximum is 1 to 120, and that's already 113, so that's already more than halfway through the range of max. We may get a tiny increase the following year, or if we are stuck with Air China once again in the coming season, we might not even see that change at all. It might stay right at 113. Of course, sponsor still Continental, so it's still very easy for us to get that maximum feedback. But the races we have, Langkawi is still one of them. Also added this year, we have Deutschland Tour and the Tour of Britain. We have a French race, and then the same two that we had at the end of the calendar last year. So the same 3 races from last year are all back. We have 3 additional ones this year. 2 of those, of course, just down here. Let's go ahead and push straight forward and get into the racing, as we have 6 races to do, just that handful of stages overall. I mean, I think we're looking at probably 10 stages worth of racing to get through the entirety of the season. That might push us to 4 episodes for this year, maybe. But at the same time, I'm a little reluctant to just kind of push through this and make it be a thing, because the reality is we're still a year off from being Continental Pro and racing for anything actually meaningful. But we'll get at least a few episodes. We'll see. I might not actually do all 6 of the races. Haven't fully decided how I want to handle that one yet, but I've already pushed our best riders into the objectives for those 6. I've already put it into the planner as well, so I'm all set and ready to go. We have our preseason already decided. So first up is the Langkawi race, with that one mountain stage that is going to be the decisive one for the GC. So we'll see what Yamamoto and co can do for the first race of the year. One more thing before we get into that first race, I did want to point out finances, because of course last season it was a major concern, and the concern wasn't really rectified. I mean, we lost 300,000 a year ago, and then our boost in December brought back 100K of that, so we reset to, as you can see right now, a balance of 238,000. We can't afford to lose 300,000 once again, as that would clearly put us in debt by a good 60K. So 300,000 in losses is harsh, but a net loss of 200K makes it a little bit easier. And then more so, we ultimately, balance-wise, last year to this year, staff, riders, the trade-off is that we are 9,000 a month better than we were, which means we're going to save 100,000 over the course of the year. So if we lost 300K a year ago, before that December boost, we should expect to lose about 200K over the course of this season, which means we would drop down to about 40K at the end of the year. You add in another 100,000 and we'd be back up to 140. So I'm expecting that our net losses over the course of this year are going to drop from a couple 100,000 worth of losses to 100,000 worth of losses. But that still leaves us in, well, it leaves us in, we don't have to worry too much about this year. I mean, we seem to have it in order, but the finances will continue to dwindle, and we'd be down to 140 at the start of next year. You can't afford to lose 200K over the course of the year like we are expecting to this year, which means we will still need to think about the finances carefully when we get to August. Do we, at that point, look at scouting and go, okay, this is not really a boost by having that better scout, and we drop him and we replace him with a regional scout, and then, there's a little bit of extra money in savings. I think one way we address it is I should have 10 to 11 expiring contracts. We don't sign as many. We sign, 7 or 8 guys and save 10K right there. That could almost, take care of the financial drop for next year. Plus, we are going to, of course, see that plus 14K to the books anyway. So I have a feeling we're going to ultimately be okay as long as we don't have any major contracts to sign on August 1st. That's going to be the tricky part. And really, really hoping that we are able to find a new sponsor for the coming season. Otherwise, we're going to see a zero change to the balance, which is going to leave us on the edge again. And for now, the finances are getting smaller and smaller and smaller and approaching negative. So we can't keep deficit spending long term. Looks like we'll be okay for this year. But if we don't get a new sponsor, we might not be okay the following year. We might not be okay next year, unless we save some additional money in the coming season. But that's all next season. So let's get through this season and let's get into Langkawi. Langkawi is 8 stages long, but only a single stage is relevant as it's a big mountain stage. So the sprinters aren't going to make it over the top, and there's 7 sprint stages. Of course, winning one of those would be nice, but irrelevant to the larger scheme of what we're trying to aim for, which is get an overall win. So a stage win here should do it. And we do have the riders capable, but we've had an unfortunate draw. All 6 riders have the objective. So +1 is the minimum that we would have expected for this. I prepared them fitness-wise, even though it's end of January, to come out strong for the season. 3 of them are a few days away from starting their fitness peaks, but none of them have so far. So +1, that's it. That's what we got across the board. We're already down a rider through an injury at the beginning of the race, so we're down to 6 guys with a +6 net expected. We end up with a +1 draw, so we end up with a -5 draw on the day. Not helpful at all as compared to what the preparation should have been. I mean, we should be looking at a +10, +12, +14 kind of range at this point in the season. Yamamoto, the lead guy, of course, he ends up with a -1 draw today on just a 0. But even then, that's a 78 mountain, 72 stamina. It's tough. But we're looking at 21.5K, 7% is the average gradient. Let's see what, 7.3%. 21K is a long, long way. We're going to sit on this one for a little bit, but we are eventually going to sprint train this. And the breakaway has already split up and largely been caught. The peloton has already largely split up before we've even reached this final climb. Gels for our first couple of domestiques. Struggling, his red bar is gone. Taraskin is not looking great. I mean, these guys are not going to last terribly long, and that's why I'm trying to ultimately wait. Yellow jersey wear. That's a sprinter. Was he in the break? No? This was an attack of some sort, right? 17K. I want to put this race in the hands of my team at some point, but when to do that, when we're not great mountain climbers, when the support group is also on the weaker side. 15K. I don't want to destroy my own team here in the process, but we've definitely got 3 stronger guys on the day. Right now there is absolutely no push. That one rider is just comfortably riding away, so let's do it. We're not going to push too hard though. I think even something along the lines of an 80 is going to put this field under a lot of pressure. And let's see what an 80 looks like. 15K. Wow, look how quickly we are pulling this guy back in. And on to Haas. Lee, break toe for a moment. Down to 38, by the way. Down to 36. Haas has dropped Taraskin and went clear for a moment. Drop him. Okay, and we're on to Bagarov. 12.9k, so all we got was 3k out of those guys. And we're down to 3. Maleki on the attack. Maleki is a 73-75 with a 68 stamina. Unless he's got a +5, shouldn't be a threat. But Gabetsgrubir is a threat. He is definitely a threat. But there is Bagarov already responding. And are you kidding me? Okay, it's Christian, not Carlos Rodriguez. But even he's a 75-75. Stun Mitted's here as well. You gotta be kidding me. This is such a packed field compared to what I thought we would be facing. But here is Bagarov comfortable now at 10k, and we're seeing attacks, and we're not feeling those attacks. We're in pretty good shape. But we are now getting towards the back end, so it's time to push a little bit harder for Bagarov. But I'm glad to see that the field is trying to punish each other, as you're seeing 4 guys now again attacking. Scottson is here. Maleki. I'm surprised the amount of decent climbers there are here, as we are being very patient on this climb. Now 7k to go. We're getting into the steepest sectors though. 4 guys off the front, but just barely. 2 of them have been reeled in. Evans and Yellen. And Bagarov still leading the way now with 6k to go. I want to gel up, I think, for Lou soon. It's now 14 chasing 2. And those 2 have a 40-second advantage, 5.5k. This group is getting small. There's basically 5 guys, plus us and a couple hanging on right at the back. And Bagarov is done. On to Lou. That's going to hurt Yamamoto a little bit more. We're at 3.9. Hey, game. Get back with my guys, please. Okay, gel for Yamamoto, 3.5k. We've still got to try to catch those front 2, but we're down to 5 here. Those front 2 are now split up. 3k to go, and Lou is done, but Yamamoto does not have much in the tank here. The 0 race day condition has not left him a lot. And right now we are riding towards a 4th place finish. And at 2k, he's just not going to catch up to these guys. He can only climb so fast. $1.8k. Almost make contact with them and then just about hang on, but he's not succeeding in doing that. He is just behind these guys. 1.3k. And that's it. He's out of energy. Not a win for Yamamoto. +1, +2 alone might have done it. Stamina wins. He is such a strong climber comparatively. And we get 4th place. Well ahead of others. I mean, he was already 3 minutes behind Stalmedit. Lou gets 6th. All in all, that's a decent finish for our team. But it's not a win. So Langkawi is a fail. We do have one more that we're going to get in for this episode if I can. Otherwise, we'll get a little outro in here at some stage, but I've got like 4 months worth of simming to get there, and I do have a limited time frame. Let's see if we can get it done. So I managed to simulate a month and a half, but that's all the time that I had for today, so I will have to wrap this one up without getting that one more race in, unfortunately. But here's where we're at. Surprising one that Ponamar, those of you familiar with my career mode series know the name, as he rode for us. Rider out of Ukraine, so it does not affect Asia, but the Ukrainian rider has won Strada Bianchi and gotten a +2 to the popularity. So we are seeing progress. We've seen it in Kazakhstan, and we're seeing it in plenty of other nations as well. And I do think we're on our way with some of these guys. In particular, if you notice below, something has changed. We still only have our 2 4.5-star guys, but we have now filled the page with 4-star talents on down to Chu. So we've got Chu, and we had 4 of them at the start of the season. and that number has grown to 7. So we have 3 new 4-star talents on the team, including 6-star prospect Michael Schechter. Schechter up to a 4-star sprinter at 4-star overall. Only 74 in the sprint. But I was talking about getting him to a 75 by the end of the year. And by the middle of March, he's already hit a 74, 72. He's got a long ways to go yet to be where we need him to be. But unlike Oscar, he's got a couple things going for him that is encouraging. One, he's already up to a 74 flat as well, so it's going up with his rating. 2, the resistance is already up to a 70 for such a young rider who's just getting started. That's decent. And 3, his recovery is already at a 72. Long term, we need to get an invite to a Grand Tour after we hit Continental Pro. We need an invite to a World Tour, any one of those Grand Tour races where he could go out and compete for a green jersey and or stage wins eventually. It's not there yet, obviously, but eventually with that 6-star potential. And if we can start getting some stage wins, you're going to see Israeli cycling and his ranking be high enough that we could see the popularity of Israeli cycling, but we could also see a high enough ranking that he could probably get the training structure to boost within Israel as well. And this could be theoretically our first success of a nation growth. Let's hope that is the case. Let's hope he continues to develop in a strong way. His stamina is just a 66 right now, and that is the one part that's really falling short at the moment. Downhill at a 75 is definitely good for, light, punchy stages. 65 hills is not quite enough. 60 mountains not quite enough, but you protect him, you give him a good lead out, and recover over the top. He could clearly compete in a descending sprint, and he can compete in a regular sprint, or at least he's shaping up that way so far. Pretty sure that Brandon No is one of the other ones who has leveled up as well, and you can see he's already pushing a 74 in hills, and he's got plenty of growth remaining on his web. He'll be a decent all-around talent who can help and support other riders. Himself will not necessarily be a leader, as we're looking at a few more points of hills being about all he's going to get, maybe 4 more points with about a 78 overall. So, not a major high-end talent, but still he's getting there and has plenty more growth coming. Not sure who the last one was, but either way, it's a sign of progress, because realistically, we're only going to need one of these 7 to level up by October to hit that 4.5 stars to be enough. 3 4.5 star guys should be enough for us to hit Continental Pro. I mean, we were crazy close this season without it. Right now, our top 3 is still the same. The gap is really closing in on other candidates to push us up a little bit higher. So I'm very confident that we, in the next 7 months, will get there. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.